Hello, happy Friday. I hope you're good. Today I'm here with my April wrap-up. I read 7 books in April and let's just jump right in. The first book that I read in April is Woodswoman by Anne Labastille, a young ecologist's life in the log cabin she built herself. This is a nonfiction book following Anne as she tells us her story on how she ended up living in the woods, how she lived off-grid, how she lived off the land essentially. This is such a beautiful, inspiring story because Anne really shows us what it took for her to live in the woods, how she got there, what she went through, her life story basically in a way. And it was so inspiring and such a beautiful story because she's just such an amazing person. You could just tell reading this that this was such a great person. And it was only after reading this that I found out that she's no longer here. She passed away a while ago, and she's someone that I would love to continually learn more about because she really, when you read this, you want to go and live in the woods. You want to leave everything behind because, I don't know, you just have to read it to experience yourself. But it's such a good book, and if you want a really great environmental nonfiction book, memoir, I would highly recommend this. It is just so good. And then after that, I finally picked up The Swarm by Frank Schatzing. This had been sitting on my shelf unread for years. I finally read it, and of course what happens most of the time is when books sit on my shelf for years, I just wonder, why did you wait so long to read the book? Why did you wait so long? It was so good. It was but like I said, it was so good. The Swarm is a book that came out in the early 2000s. It is a science fiction thriller apocalyptic story that it was originally in German as well. This is a translation. It is a book that's very apocalyptic. It is about how the ocean and all of the creatures in the ocean fight back against humanity, how they cause landslides, to cause tsunamis, to kill people, how whales start attacking people and crabs start poisoning humans, and it is a crazy, wild story. It's so interesting because at the core of this, it feels more like a piece on environmentalism really, because the reason why the ocean is trying to get rid of humanity is because of the way that we've been treating the earth, essentially, how we are kind of abusing our resources and killing senselessly for no reason and whatnot. And it's just a great book that really delves into a lot of science as well. This book, I didn't realize it was going to talk so much in science facts and details and whatnot, so it was so interesting to learn a lot about ocean waves, currents, and also learning about the behaviors of certain animals as well. It was such a great story that was completely worth it, and I love that this book follows so many different point of views. I feel like this is an epic story that is perfect for a movie. I can understand why it's compared to The Day After Tomorrow and The Abyss, because in the book you find out the creatures that are secretly behind all of this, and it's very kind of, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's really, really good. I would highly recommend it. If for one you love science fiction, pick this up for sure. And if you love a really good apocalyptic story, so good. This freaked me out a little bit. It's so worth the read. It's a massive giant story, but if you put the time into reading this, I would highly recommend it. Really good. And then I read The Death of Miss Westaway by Ruth Ware. I read this during the reading rush. If you watch my videos for that, you'll know that I really, really like this. This is a thriller, of course, it's Ruth Ware, that follows a young girl, early 20s. She finds out that that her grandmother passed away and she is going to be given something in the will, except the problem is that her grandma, as far as she knows, is dead, so she thinks that there's some sort of miscommunication and that they sent the letter to the wrong person. But because she's in like a gripe with money right now, she goes and wants to claim the money just because she's basically faking her identity so that she can claim what's in this will. And when she gets to the mansion to meet the rest of the family, things happen. It's crazy. I really like this because I love when you have that sort of story where someone passes away and people, like the family, gets really money hungry. I love the twist of this book, and I kept having to second guess myself, and I just had a really great time with this book. I haven't read a ton of thrillers in my life, so I don't know if this is a great thriller or if it's bad or whatnot, but I really enjoyed it. I had such a blast reading this, and I would highly recommend it if you like thrillers. And then right after that, I picked up Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, and this was just great. I knew I was gonna love it. I don't know why it took me so long to pick up this book, but it was great. This is a classic dystopian futuristic book about how books are banned and all books are burnt. If you're caught with books, you will be in trouble, you will be killed, and it's just a really sad, depressing story at its core. I mean, it's about censorship, so I get it and I understand, but it's just so sad to see the way people kind of turn and the way that people act within the story when they can't like think for themselves, and it's just, I don't know. I enjoyed it, but it was definitely a depressing read, and I don't know if I would ever read it again because a world without books is just a world that I don't want to be a part of. So yeah, I liked it though. Oh, this next book. After that, I read Widow's Point by Richard and Billy Chismar. This is a very short book, basically a novella. It is a ghost horror story set at a lighthouse, told in video audio recording style. So it's very found footagey. We follow a writer as he goes to this haunted lighthouse for the course of a weekend, and while he's there he tells us the history of this lighthouse, of all the people that have died and were murdered there and committed suicide and went missing there. And it is such a chilling story because I don't know, I feel like if you read this at night, you're gonna be spooked out. At least I was. It's so short, but oh my goodness, you read this and you get goosebumps and you get the chills, and it's just great. If you want a really good scary book, this is for you. I love this so much. I love the setting of this book. The setting is perfect because it's so spooky. You know, when you're by the ocean, when you're in a lighthouse, things are very mysterious and ominous, and anything can happen and everything is up in the air and you just don't know, and it's so great. And I don't know what else to say to convince you to read this. You should check out Widow's Point. And then I picked up a book about pirates. I read Black Souls by Nicole Casterman. This is the sequel to Black Hearts. This is a duology, a young adult duology about Blackbeard on his kind of prequel romance story, if you would. The first book was very entertaining, but I couldn't take it too seriously because it was very stereotypical and the writing was very hit or miss, and I just wasn't very connected to the characters, so I wasn't very inclined on picking up the second book. But I knew that if I ever wanted to read something entertaining, that this would always be a good book to pick up. So I did finally, and I was thoroughly entertained, but I was also kind of taken aback in a way because this book it went into different places that I didn't think it was going to go to. I thought it was going to focus more on romance, but actually we talked a lot about slavery and about the society at this time, and I thought that it touched on that really well, and I really loved this book a lot more than the first one because of that. So I would really recommend this book. I almost want to just recommend the second book and not the first one. I don't know, that sounds kind of weird, but yeah, I really like this, and I found it to be incredibly satisfying, and I really liked it. So pirates, yay. And the last book that I read in April was An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson, I believe. This is a young adult fantasy romance story about fae, about fairies, and it was weird. Upon finishing this book, the only thought I thought to myself was, what was the point, really? I know that sounds really mean because I really enjoyed Margaret Rogerson's other book, Sorcery of Thorns. That one was really great, but this one was just so bland, and our characters were really lifeless, and not like they were lifeless characters, but they were just written very cardboard-esque, and I feel like this book was trying to be something that it wasn't. It felt like it was trying to act very Throne of Glass. Not Throne of Glass, it was trying to act very A Court of Thorns and Roses, but it wasn't A Court of Thorns and Roses at all. And I don't know, I just felt really disappointed with this book because at the end of the day I just felt it was nothing special. There was nothing memorable about it. It was very boring, and I don't know, I like the art element to this book, but even that was just very, okay, can we move along now? Like, what's gonna happen? Where's the action? Where are the stakes? Like, what's gonna keep the story moving? I mean, I wouldn't really recommend this book at all. So yeah, that's the last book I read. That is my wrap up for April. I hope you guys had a great reading month. In the comments below, let me know if you've read any of these books. We can chat and discuss and all that great stuff. If you'd like to see more reviews from me, I will link some book reviews. I have a giant playlist. Go watch that if you like. Subscribe as well if you haven't already, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!